Well, we welcome you back to the Ferrari Esports Series, the Ferrari HP Esports Series, as we now take a step to our next gaming platform after already clearing the first 3 rounds, I should say, our first 3 regions, of course. We're back with the same 3 regions, of course, this week too. But now, after closing the book on iRacing, we've already committed 6 drivers through to the grand final at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. And we're getting set now to send 3 more off through the course of this week. Firstly, though, kicking things off here tonight with Europe's band of AC, Assetto Corsa drivers that are looking ahead into that grand final as well. George Morgan here, your commentator. Joining me once again, returning, Lewis McGlade. Lewis, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, doing well. Looking forward to another fantastic evening of racing. Obviously, we take to virtual Monterey, to California, to Laguna Seca. Cracking track. One that's pretty difficult to race, though, but very easy to make mistakes around.
Oh, yes. Very tight, twisty, technical. The corkscrew, of course, a notorious bend that I think many are going to find very thrilling indeed. We saw it last year, plenty of it as well. Obviously, plenty of drivers coming through the realms of the regional qualifiers, finally making it to this regional finals, Lewis. While it's a final in some regards, all attention is going to be centered on qualifying for the very grand final that they're looking to chase.
Yeah, you've quite poignantly put out that we've got 6 of our drivers already. There'll be 14 that are racing in the grand final, obviously in December. 6 of those have already been picked from iRacing, those from the top 2 from each of their respective region. It is harder here, though. It's not 2 going through per event. It is just the one from each of those regions. That is brutal. That means you've got to be perfect over the evening. But the format race to race is still the same, isn't it? You know, qualifying in 2 races.
Yeah, absolutely right. So not a lot of difference in terms of how the festivities are going to unfold. We, of course, say goodbye as well to the 499P that we were utilising before. Obviously, the prototype car that we committed the commencement of the Ferrari HP Esports Series. So we now move into the Ferrari 488. The predecessor to the 296. Of course, we'll see the 296 later down the line, but we're back in V8 machinery here tonight, Lewis, and a car which has done very, very well in real-life GT3 competition in the past.
Yeah, certainly so. Cracking car, love the look of it. I mean, to be fair, it's Ferrari, you can't go wrong. All the cars we're racing in this competition, be it the 499s, the 296s, or here the 488s, they all look fantastic. But it's a very different beast, a lot more old school compared to even the 296 we're racing in a couple of weeks' time. Tricky car to take around this kit. It's not the most compliant. Let's go with that around here.
Yeah, obviously some fierce straight line speed on offer with the Ferraris as well. Let's take a look at the regions and how the system works here at the Ferrari HP Esports Series. The regional breakdowns, of course, drivers coming through from the Americas regions, at the same time Asian Pacific as well, and also including China, and then we head into European competition, EMEA. So all 3 regions taking part here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. Drivers coming from far and wide across the globe, going through June and July's hot lap phase, and then September to October, the regional qualifiers, in a bid to qualify for the regional finals. That is where we are right now, folks, in October and November, and they're all looking for a spot in the grand finals that will take place on the 3rd of December at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. And as you can see on the different platforms, we have the processes. iRacing, we've already closed the book on that. 2 from each region have already qualified to proceed to that grand final. To this time around, starting tonight, we're on Assetto Corsa, qualifying 2 races to bring you as well. The winner, just one solitary winner from each region, will go through to the final at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. And then finally, we finish action on Assetto Corsa Competizione, where we'll have 2 drivers from the European region, but then 1 driver from the Asian Pacific and 1 driver from the Americas as well, moving through to that grand final. So plenty for the drivers to look forward to, and for you folks as spectators also. Here is the calendar. We've already, like I said, closed the book on Imola. That has been done. That went through from the 10th through the 11th of October. We've arrived here now for the EMEA side at Laguna Seca on Assetto Corsa on the 24th of October. That is where we are right now. 25th, of course, being tomorrow. We go racing for Asian Pacific, Americas as well. A full day of racing for you folks, and do please tune into that also. We got Watkins Glen coming up on the 7th of November. That will commence on Assetto Corsa Competizione, and then we're back on the following day on the 8th for Asian Pacific region and Americas action, which will spell the end of the regional finals phase, and all sights will be set on Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi in December. And now I'm also delighted to introduce to you all as well. Obviously, you've not just got me here for this broadcast or Lewis McGlade, but we've also got Jonathan Riley joining us here as well. Jonathan, great to have you here. You're going to be our expert and provide some much needed wisdom to this broadcast.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very excited to see these two races, Laguna Seca being such a difficult track for these drivers. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be some chaos going on.
Yeah, and as I understand it, we're going to be racing on the Ferrari 488 Evo car. Can you just tell us a little bit about the machinery they will be utilising tonight?
Yes, so of course the GT cars, so you've got ABS, going to be quite a compliant car under braking, so you don't need to invoke such a carefulness when applying initially the brakes. But with GT cars, they're very stiff in comparison to a road car. So you're going to have a lot of precision that you're going to have to invoke when you're driving. And as well as it being a very difficult track to get round, yeah, these GT cars, they can pitch very aggressively. They can get around from under you very quickly. And yeah, it's not exactly an easy bit of machinery to get round the track.
No, tricky business. And obviously we're going racing tonight at Laguna Seca. Ferrari known for its very strong straight line speed as well, Jonathan. Just talk to us a little bit. Obviously, here you do have a few straights, but the elevation changes could be a major factor.
Oh yes, exactly. It actually makes some corners blind, especially the corkscrew, the very ever famous corkscrew, where you dip down that famous hill. Apexes are completely blind, so yeah, the hills get very scary sometimes, especially when you're following a car. But yeah, the straights are not very long, so overtaking may be a little bit difficult, but drivers may they may put the pressure on. They may get drivers to make mistakes, and that will be the major overtaking opportunities that we'll see here today.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, obviously, some of the drivers we got featuring here this evening have also competed in this series before last year. That was a consistent theme that we saw from iRacing last time, Lewis. And my big name of note, really, is Jack Olivier, a multi-time race winner in hypercars. Obviously, we're not racing in hypercars tonight, but also a previous qualifier here from last season also. Do you think that prior experience is going to help him in this scenario?
Oh,
I mean, I was going to say, I mean, you hope so. But I would also say that one thing that is going to, the focus is going to be, and I'm sure you might agree with me here, John, that it's qualifying. That is going to be the main thing. You have to qualify well, regardless of what experience you've got. If you don't qualify well, that's it. It's done. It's overtaking so difficult around here.
Yeah, I mean, just to weigh on your point there, Jonathan, obviously, you know, what is your thoughts on the experience factor? Do you think that's going to be enough to get them over the line, or do you see some of the wild cards being a threat, really?
Yeah, absolutely. The veterans of the series are going to really be strong during this race, because they're going to be able to hold your nerve. They're going to be able to keep it on track, whereas the people who are not as experienced, the nerves may get to them. They may start making mistakes, and that's when you start seeing overtakes happening. So yeah, the veterans of the series are going to definitely come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, we also like romanticizing about different drivers coming from different disciplines as well, Lewis. Some of them are multi-discipline drivers that have raced in prototype single-seaters, also GT cars. Some of them even GT touring cars, I should say. All funneling in together. We've even got one driver competing in the MX-5 Pro Series at the moment, Tony Wingstrom. I mean, coming from all this different angle of sim racing, of course, we take a nice look across the Laguna Seca circuit. Would you say it favours more a fine-tuned driver that understands GTs more than any other?
Ooh, that's I mean, it's a tricky one. I think because AC is of the three. Well, technically, I was going to say it's the oldest of the three, but actually, iRacing is. But you know what I mean? That's been updated more so than this. It is the one that is, in effect, the most dated comparatively. I would say it's not necessarily your GT specialists or whatever that would come through the ranks. I think you can take a load of GT specialists from around the sim racing world, regardless of what platform they've raced on, stick them on this, and they still might struggle, because it will drive differently to your other platforms quite aggressively. To be fair, as iRacing to ACC also will drive differently. I think it's those that put the hours in back in the day might be able to jump straight into this and get up to speed. And though, yeah, let's be honest, we got a grid of pretty competitive drivers here, but it is that is the most difficult point is getting used to the simulator rather than necessarily the fact that it's a GT3 car.
Yeah, I mean, we've arrived here basically just to give the audience some scope. We are here in Monterey, California, United States, everyone, at a track that opened on the 9th of November, 1957. We're talking 67 years ago now, 3.602 kilometers in length, 2.238 miles, 11 turns take the Grand Prix circuit of Laguna Seca. So many corners, and I must say, ones that are going to take our sim racers slightly off guard, but also at the same time provide opportunity for progression, moving up the timing screen. Obviously, the Andretti hairpin coming through turn 2. We've seen a few late breaks there in the past. Not to mention the run going through turns 5 and 6 up the Rahal Straight before you hit the corkscrew at the top of the hill that then sends you down Rainy Curve as well. I mean, Jonathan, you've very likely driven this track many, many, many times. What do you like about it? What are your bugbears? Give us your details on what you think makes Laguna Seca special.
Yeah, first of all, with Laguna Seca, the first thing you realize when you drive out the pits is the track is extremely thin. So when you're driving with cars on track, it's going to be both extremely distracting and extremely hard to not only overtake, but to stay with people. When you get very close to a person, around 3 or 4 tenths, the track gets extremely blind to you. Apexes start being covered, entire straights start being covered at times. So it's a very difficult track with the width of it alone. And then you get to its precision that you need. The corners itself, they're quite a lot of sweeper corners, quite a lot of long corners, but there are quite a lot of corners where precision is needed, because you see on all of these apexes here, you have curbs that can send your car immediately wide. So you're going to need to have a very good understanding of what your car is doing under you. Otherwise, maybe it's a sort of temporary increase in grip that you haven't expected, or it's that sort of washing out wide that you haven't expected. Either way, this can put you on the dirt, on a curb, it could put you offline even, but every single time you may introduce a new difficulty that can put your car off track, so it's insanely difficult. But that's especially why this track is so good. It's pure difficulty.
Yeah, no question. It's really going to challenge the drivers, and it's a great opportunity as well, Lewis. I mean, this championship especially, to develop stars, potential stars of the future. We've seen many of them come through the realms of league racing, whether that be through single-seater or indeed GTs. I mean, we've had some that have competed at the VCO ERL level, others coming through from sim racing, league racing, winners in hypercars, for example, like Vasily Zakin, for example, and others like Jacques Olivier, who's also looking to rubber stamp himself as an outright professional. Nicolas Lefrancois, who is a multidisciplined single-seater GT3 prototype winner, also competed in GT Masters as well at GT level. We got a Masters Cup sim racing league winner in Simon Petrowski as well, who's also a 2-time Polish national vice champion in racing itself. I mean, to win, you know, a championship like the Ferrari HP Esports Series really does put you on the map at a chance at a professional contract as well. It's too good to turn down.
100%. It's the type of championship where the unknown will become known if they're able to put on an impressive fight, win at the grand final. But before that, you have to get there, and only 14 very fortunate drivers will be taking the trip out to Abu Dhabi, of course, in just over a month's time. Will this driver be one of them? Of course, we've got a whole host here on Assetto Corsa ready to do combat and ready to try and challenge for the single position, the single driver that will transfer. This is coming up towards turn 6, I argue, potentially the most difficult corner around this entire circuit. The corkscrew gets all the love and attention, but I still maintain turn 6 is threading the eye of the needle at high speed. So easy to get wrong and run wide, and that is where you get the overtake attempts into the corkscrew. On board with Sven Gilhard. That was a little bit deep on the brakes going into the corkscrew.
Yeah, it's almost the appetizer, isn't it, before you then leap into the corkscrew heading downhill. And Sven Gilhard, who we're currently riding on board with right now, a 2-time winner in WEC Esports back in 2019, has competed at the top level for quite some time, also featured last season in this series championship, as he now once again embraces the Ferrari 488 Evo. Now crossing the line, an almighty 3.5 tenths improvement, near enough, just over in fact, and will go first fastest for now. It's Lasse Albrecht who goes second fastest with a 1:21.789. Stan Vlietstra into third, as well as Petrowski goes second fastest with a 1:21.664. We are talking 200ths between the top two. This just goes to show, doesn't it, Jonathan? Minute gaps, just goes to show how true professionals these guys really are.
Yeah, exactly. Already we're having a 200ths of a second gap between P2 and P1. This track is insanely difficult, not only for its difficulties already physically, but mentally on the driver. You have to put in an insanely consistent and precise performance. Otherwise, you're going to be absolutely tumbling down the field.
Yeah, you don't want to be held to account or put at mercy of some of these corners that can really take you out of your comfort zone. Manuel Vera, a DTM Esports driver from this season, now popping into third fastest, just over a 1/10 away from Sven Gilho at the top of the shop. As now Zakin, who we mentioned earlier on, who is a Sim Racing League Racing winner in hypercars, now also at the very top, has actually driven the Ferrari 499P. That was the car, of course, we witnessed in the iRacing side at the start of the Ferrari HB Esports Series regional finals, and this time taking to the 488 Evo and senses himself up to the very top. But again, only 34 thousandths between them as Lefrancois goes 6th fastest, Lewis.
Yeah, certainly so. As we say, there's a few drivers out of position. Stan Vlietstra, who we're looking at, one of those. Olivia and Martin Merguli, 9th and 10th positions there. I'd also suggest those two are slightly out of position. Vlietstra currently sits 4/10 off of the provisional pole time being set by Zakin, as we're seeing a few more times come in. Bonini goes up into 10th position. Like I say, a few switches there further down, but you can see there behind Vlietstra, there is quite a large gap to those behind. That is the gap that I suspect will be closed up by a few of those drivers that may be slightly out of position.
Yeah, no question. We're watching Vlietstra now making his way around. He has improved by 87 thousandths of a second. Of course, driving the 488 is a lovely throwback to the V8 era. We have now since moved into the modern age with the 296, which we will be seeing on Assetto Corsa Competizione, moving into the 6-cylinder, and Vlietstra getting it all wrong. And unfortunately for him, that is going to really put him under pressure. P7 for now, and it's going to take a lot for him to get his confidence back. We're coming into the final 4 minutes and 20, so he's only got a small amount of time to improve on his previous best. That's if he can get back out again in time.
And also, as you can see here, it's not as if you've got the circuit to yourself, and it's quite a short circuit, relatively speaking. Only 81 seconds in totality for our provisional pole sitter at present. So you don't have much space on circuit, as we'll see Manuel Vera up towards the end of the first sector. If he's to take pole position away, he needs to set a very good lap time. I had to try. It's fine. Up towards turn 6 he goes. Again, such commitment through here. This is where Vlietstra had his problem. Almost gets that one perfect, it seems.
Yeah, taking a lot of that curb as well. He was over a 10th quicker, actually, coming through the middle sector, so we'll be hoping that he can muster something else in the final sector. Heading downhill. And, of course, coming out of the corkscrew, you've got turn 9 at Rainy Curve. Still coming downhill through towards turn 10 as well. It's going to be this next right-hander that he takes the kink of the course before then he reaches the final bend at turn 11, chasing a lap time that will send him higher than Zakin up at the top of the tree. McGurley goes into 10th fastest now, inside the top 10 with a lap time that sends him just beyond half a second, nearly 6/10 away as Vera improves to 3rd fastest. Vital, every place counts, because that places him on the 2nd row, Lewis.
Seen a few improvements from this driver here, Aquadent. Currently sits 16th position, 1 second. Someone's spinning up ahead. Nice one. Yeah, one of the drivers that has improved fair amount. The last driver to be outside of a second, looking to try and get within a second of our provisional pole time. A little bit of slipstream up ahead. Not necessarily sure you'll be looking out for the slipstream. It's more so you're looking for clean air around here, but every little helps. We'll work our way down through the corkscrew into the ante-penultimate corner, which is what I've recently found out is what the one before penultimate means. Fantastic news.
Matthias Aquadent also coming from the realms of touring cars, adapting to GT3 technology here for this evening's quest around the Laguna Seca circuit. Nico Puntola goes into 15th fastest ahead of Tomola, who now sits in 16th. As now they curve through this next left-hander. Aquadent 1.2 off his previous best time. We're now inside the final 2 minutes. Zakin still on top as Petrowski goes 4th fastest. Lasse Albrecht still in the pits now, 5th fastest for now. McGurley improves once again, goes 9th fastest and is slowly starting to pitch himself higher up the roster. As now we watch Petrowski making his way through the first sector this time. Fourth fastest will be on the second row alongside Manuel Vera, should he stay where he is. But surely he has ambitions of moving to that front row and maybe even provisional pole position.
See what the first sector is going to be. Once again, it's an improvement. We saw this a little bit from Vera as well, that maybe Zakin's opening 2 sectors aren't particularly amazing, but that final sector really pieced together a very solid lap and onto the provisional pole. So we'll see if Szymon Piotrowski can actually improve on that once we come to the end of the second sector. Into the corkscrew they go. Obviously onto the brakes very heavily into that tricky braking zone. Did notice a couple of drivers cutting across the inside there on the second part of the corkscrew, and the sector time still technically counts, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's conducive to good sector times, considering that from Piotrowski.
Yeah, I might get a stern word as well from the stewards if they start breaching those track limits, especially when we go racing later on. Petrowski, obviously, like we said, a 2-time national Polish champion in racing, and has just gone across the line. No improvements necessarily. In fact, you can just see crossing the line just under a 1/10.5 behind where he needs to be. We're riding on board with Zajkin, who currently sits on top of the timing screen, top of the shop, not improving though as it stands coming through that middle sector. So maybe teeing up one final run. We do have 20 seconds left. I think he could still go again here, Lewis. Yeah,
I believe so. We'll see what Zajkin can do, if there is going to be a further improvement on the final lap of this qualifying session coming in from Zajkin to move that 121.517 ahead clearly of the rest of the field. I've said about it before this evening, you must get pole position. If you're going to be that top driver, at a bare minimum, the front row is required here as the checkered flag comes out.
Yeah, Francesco Mencacci also down in 18th place. It looks like he's just moved up there with Copia just in front in 17th. He's now in the pits now, Mencacci. Also a returning driver from last season. Yeah, Sven Gilho going first fastest, 91,000 better than Zajkin this time. So the man who's coming back from last season and a 2-time winner in WEC Esports now returns to the top and back with this championship. Jacques Olivier goes 5th fastest. Last year's qualifier moving into the Ferrari HP Esports Series Grand Final at Abu Dhabi here in AC as well. Olivier's back, but not in the front 2 rows. He will be starting on the 3rd row alongside Lasse Albrecht should it stay like this, but a cracking lap from Gilles Hode.
Certainly so, but can Zajkin return? Leho goes up into 6th position. Zajkin works his way into the final sector. It's not looking so good. 2/10 down. Martin Maguli improves up to 10th, gets dropped down by Vlistra, who moves then into 9th position. I'm not sure this is going to be good enough for pole position for Zajkin.
I'm not sure. He lost time in that middle sector. He's really trying to chase something in the final sector in order to muster something against Gilho. He won't. Nearly 2/10 off the pace. An incredible performance from Sven Gilho, the 2-time WEC Esports winner from 2019, back again this time around in the Ferrari HP Esports Series and returns to the top. We mentioned old names returning to the top here, Jonathan, and indeed that is the case. And we saw some other names like Jacques Olivier featuring inside the top 5 at the same time, and also Lefrancois and Alex Leho as well. It seems like the old dogs aren't done yet.
Yeah, exactly. And the nerves, the steel nerves to finish that lap and to get pole position, that is an incredible effort. So he should be very proud of himself. But that's only quali. So the race is next. And yeah, let's see who actually wins this.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really tight. Some really impressive laps featured in. Gilles Hode, who had a little bit of misfortune last season, didn't quite qualify for the finals last year, but gave a good account of himself. Obviously, he's been part of the sim racing scene for quite some time, but this year could be his year, Lewis.
Certainly so. I mean, look, putting that qualifying lap in, left it right until the end of the session, and then was able to set it. But as has been said, qualifying is down. Race is coming up next, and that's the important bit. That's where the points are paid out. Just if you weren't sure as to how the points work, I do believe it's the same as it was back on iRacing. So the top 10 score points: 25, 18, 15, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, and 1. As you might be aware, the Formula 1 style points, the FIA style points scoring system. And importantly here, and this is why I said qualifying on pole position, in my opinion, is the most important bit, because obviously qualifying sets the grid order for race 1. Race 1 sets the grid order for race 2. There's no reverse grid, there's no gimmick there. It is just straight up, qualifying race. And that's why I holding track position towards the front is critical.
Yeah, which is a big point to make, Lewis. So over to you, Jonathan, because I want to ask you something about this. Does that send a message to some of the drivers who may not have qualified well to perhaps take more risks in a bid to get a better starting position for race 2?
Oh yeah, exactly. Quali is both a setting the grid game, but it's also a mental game, because people who get fastest laps, who get pole positions, they make statements. They say, here I am, I'm the fastest guy, try and beat me. So that turn 1 is going to be looking very interesting with P2 and P1. I'm going to try and see what they're going to try and do. Are they going to try and take that challenge, try and make it round the outside into 2, or are they going to try and consolidate some points here for race 2?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who tries to strategize whichever way and which one's going to come out on top. Obviously, when you take more risks, you can get punished, especially here at Laguna Seca, Lewis, where we have seen how some of the corners behave. We saw Stan Vliestra having an illustrative view on that when he ploughed into the barrier. Obviously, you can't afford really for moments like that to occur during the race, especially here in race 1, because not only does it mean lack of points will be scored in race 1, but it puts you on the back foot for race 2 as well. So this first race really arguably matters the most.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, look, there's not too many overtaking opportunities around here, but I mean, look, if you're really going to go for those overtakes, it's typically down into T2, the Andretti hairpin, effectively the first corner of the circuit after the opening kink, and then down into the 11th and final corner on the circuit. The rest of it is all kind of line astern. You can maybe get a move done into 5, but typically speaking, if you see moves around the back end of the circuit, it is because someone has made a mistake. Now, there is a lot of mistakes open out there. You'll typically see someone running wide at turn 5 or running wide at turn 6, and it opens up an opportunity into the next corner. You see a little bit here, what we're looking at down to the rainy curve at turn 9. Of course, the penultimate corner at turn 10 does catch the odd driver out and leaves things open for the final.
Yeah, well, here we go. No rolling starts for this. We've got all 6 lights lit, and it's pedal to the metal, and it's go! Go, 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 go. Good start for Sven Gielhode, who leads the way. A few other markers from the 3rd row also gaining places very early on. We'll get an update as to the timing graphics later on as well, folks. But at the moment, Sven Gielhode getting a really good start. Petrowski in 2nd, Manuel Vera in 3rd. We got a big tussle further back with the number 2 charging up the inside.
Whoa.
There's a yellow car that spun off. 2 cars have come across, but make that 3 as they come through the first few corners. A chaotic getaway. Nico Puntola living up to his name here, Lewis McLean.
Yeah, certainly so. When sticking it in reverse and trying to J-turn. Come on, give it a go. Nah, wimp. He didn't want to give it a go. To be fair, I think there's too much downforce to give a good J-turn a go. But alas, he was trying. Piotrowski had a great start from 4th position on the grid, able to work his way up into 2nd place. We're looking at Zyken, who started on that front row. And Jack Olivier looking down the inside into turn 6. It's always going to end in tears. Always going to end in tears. It's only one line through there.
Well, Stan Vlietstra, of course, who was in behind those runners, and again contact. And Vasily Zykin, who was one of the fastest contenders in qualifying, has already become one of our, I suppose, casualties on the first lap. McGurley has moved ahead of Lasse Albrecht as well over P5, but it's Sven Gielhode who leads the way. Petrowski in 2nd. I mean, it was a great start for Gielhode there, Jonathan.
Yeah, exactly. What a shame outside 6. Just maybe pinching the car a little too much. But yeah, being the outside car on that corner is just, there's nothing really you can do, because it's such a tight corner, it's such high speed. You got to realize at some point when to consolidate, when to say, okay, the move's maybe not on here, so I'm going to have to stay back and look for opportunities in the future. But because he was so aggressive there, now that's his race severely compromised for him.
Yeah, obviously now Tomola moves into 10th. That's not Joni Tomola, for those of you who may be quizzing that. It's Oscar Tomola, who we're currently seeing in P10 moving up. Of course, Sven Gielhode on our cameras, on our screen, 6/10 at the moment to the good, ahead of Petrowski, who's in 2nd. Manuel Vera now a 2nd back in 3rd as well. And further back, Jacques Olivier, currently sat in 4th place, looking to qualify for a 2nd successive year in a row. But with him being in 4th place, not quite close enough to that podium spot, with him being 2 seconds back. But he is a 2nd clear of McGurley. So we are starting to see these gaps develop now, Lewis.
Certainly so, but I will say Piotrowski's doing a great job on keeping Gilhode basically within touching distance at the front of the field. He's trying to check out into the distance, of course, run away, make it an easy victory, put himself in the best position to join the 6 drivers already through. If you didn't know, by the way, it's Cody Death and Damon Woods from the APAC region. It's Norbert Tamash and Gar Valero from the European, Middle Eastern and African region. And of course, from the Americas, it's Ronaldo Carlos and Rafael Blanco, all qualified through on iRacing. We're looking for just a single driver this evening, as the fastest lap came in there, I believe, from Jack Olivier, who isn't a million miles off this group. Couple of seconds of clean air up towards Vera, and a potential podium's up for grabs. Of course, do remember, Piotrowski, who's currently running in 2nd position, did start the race in 4th, so maybe it's not the worst place to start for race 2.
No, I don't think so. As we now watch them head through the middle sector, 11 minutes and 30 or so to go as we take a look in picture-in-picture. Of course, 2 different angles and 2 different posies with drivers at either end of the circuit, or certainly either end of the classification that we do have here. Stan Vlietstra now in the pits, obviously as a result of that big, immense collision that we had at the start of this race, or earlier on in the race anyway. Here's Jacques Olivier, the man who qualified last season. Currently watch him make his way down through the corkscrew, and then back downhill again, 1.3 away, and is continuing to close on Manuel Vera. Remember, that gap was 1.8 to 1.9 before, and he's starting to really make moves here. Jacques Olivier, the Frenchman, looking to come back as a multi-time League Racing GT winner, multi-time winner in the Formula, well, should I say the Ferrari HP Esports Series regional finals last year that led to his qualification. Well, now looking to qualify once more, and it's a 1:22.017, 9 tenths quicker than Manuel Vera.
Yeah, 3 tenths off of the race leader, Gilho, but still a very impressive lap time, closing in nearly a second there on Vera at the moment. So it seems as though there is going to be the opportunity potentially for Olivier to get onto that podium, but we've still got 10 minutes and 20 seconds left to go. We've only completed 4 minutes and 40. Still plenty of time left to go. With it being such a short lap, you do get quite a lot of laps in here, and with the high risk around some of these corners, it does certainly increase the risk factor across the lap. Olivier's really closed in, and the gap for our race leader, by the way, has gone out to 1.1 seconds. Really broken that slipstream, and it does seem as though Gilhode's trying to run away at the moment. He's broken that gap to Piotrowski.
Yeah, Marius Maldonado making a mistake as well, just dipping into the gravel, and that's going to be an open invitation for Alex Lahoe to profit off the back of it. It's been a really tough race here for Lahoe, and Copier now dropping through the field. Looks like his day is coming to a grisly end, or at least for race 1 anyway, as he drops further and further down, 20th spot now, and that's why, because he's off in the gravel at the same spot where we witnessed, of course, Stan Vlietstra gets it wrong in qualifying.
Yeah, certainly so. Maximilian Copier, unfortunately, I did say turn 6, in my opinion, is potentially the biggest trouble point on the circuit, as Vera's responded to Jacques Olivier closing up, has responded by going a tenth faster on the previous lap, and in fact set his personal best, and so starts to run away from Olivier a touch. Obviously that gap still hovering around a second. Martin Moguli just a little bit away from this battle as well. You've got Ullman and Lefrancois directly behind. Ober not too far off, same with Slovenach. They're all still within touching distance of each other and scoring those important points.
Yeah, we could witness a couple of late crescendos, I think, when the timer ticks towards 0. And as we now hover uphill, we've now got a big mishmash starting to develop just outside the top 10 with that Zori now moving into 12th place just out of Alex Lahoe. Marius Maldonado now moving up into 14th at the same time, passing Mathis Aquident at the same time. As we now watch them make their way down through towards the corkscrew and heading downhill. We're riding on board at the moment with Nicolas Lefrancois chasing after Ullman inside that 6th position as it stands, heading down now through towards the latter sector. Obviously further up the realms, it is still Gilles Hode who leads the race, and he's developed the gap to 1.4 to 1.5 seconds, and Vera now 1.6 as a result, but he has put in the legwork here and breaking Jacques Olivier out to 1.3. Remember, that was inside a second only a lap or so ago, as now we watch Lefrancois chasing down Ullman over P6. Can he get close enough? Not quite here for a run down in towards turn 2. But I'm sure we'll tee something up then for later on, where he might be able to flex his muscles ahead of race 2 coming up after this race. We watch Marius Maldonado now come across the line and also break in towards turn 1. It's getting quite constrained here, Jonathan. If you're a driver in this situation, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking keep it on track, because crashing is the slowest way to get around this track at the moment. But man, what difficulty these drivers must face when following cars with such close proximity. We don't have DRS in the series, so this is all purely dirty air, slipstream, and drivers just being skilled enough to keep very close to each other and put on the pressures. We see a mistake in the car in front.
That's Zori. Yeah, that's Zori gone. And so he's going to drop down the order. Not a welcome visit for him, for Stefano Azzori, who's now in free fall. And other drivers now starting to move their way through, as now Tomola looks to try and close on the back of Slovenia in a battle over 9th place. Heading downhill also out of the corkscrew. Will look to try and venture his own 488 past his competitor in front. Both of them nursing the red 488 here in this particular race, as Petrowski puts in a really smoky lap. Not quite fast enough though to get close enough to Gilho and contest over that P1. It is still 1.3 between them. Jacques Olivier still hovering around 1.3, trying to break to within that 1 second again on Vera, as now we watch Tomola once again hovering in behind Slovenia, not looking for that move coming through towards turn 2. Arguably had a good opportunity there, Lewis.
Yeah, but it's so tricky down into the Andretti hairpin. They sometimes will look down the inside here at T3, but can tell you that that is not quite the opportunity. The thing is, a lot of the corners around here are really difficult to go for the move. Slovanac is just putting his car in the right position at the moment. In 9th place, is just not really making a mistake. You saw there into turn 3, left the door slightly open, but not too open. Now, of course, that could be quite risky. Oscar Tomola, who we're looking at here, could go for a big dive and cause the problems if you're leaving that door open. But as long as you're kind of keeping it on the circuit, maybe leaving that extra little bit to the apex, you can kind of get round without being overtaken, because it is so difficult to overtake. Slovanac doing exactly what is needed at present to hang on to the penultimate spot in the points paying positions.
Yeah, Slovanac doing what he's doing well to hold on to 9th at the moment. We've got some other moves further back. Nico Pantola looks like he's having more problems. He's down into 18th now, as Menchachi moves up into 17th. And further back, we have seen Filoda as well dropping down the order, as we now ride back with Nico Pantola looking to recover his race after a difficult turn 2. And now all over the back of Menchachi. That's Francesco Menchachi on his return to the Ferrari HP Esports Series, as they hustle now down the straight again. Pantola definitely looking to square up for a potential move in towards turn 2. He's drifting ever closer to the back of Menchachi's 488. Does he open the door? Have a look down the inside, perhaps coming through turn 2. Not quite. He's going to opt to wait in behind, as now we wait for the drivers to start making moves up at the very top. Jacques Olivier bringing the time delta down again. It's in to nearly a second, nearly within a second, as it stands. We now revisit the man in the yellow 488, running a little bit wide though, coming through that portion of track. You can't afford to make too many mistakes, Lewis.
No, certainly not, but he's throwing everything at this race at present to catch up to the white Ferrari there of Manuel Vera, who sits in 3rd position, sits in that podium spot. And Piotrowski's early race pace seems to come back to haunt him a little bit, because he's actually dropping back a little bit into the clutches of Vera. We'll get the lap times as they cross. Obviously, it's 1.9 seconds, 2 seconds now to our race leader in Gilho, who's running away with things at the front. So that's 22.086. Was it 485? Indeed, lost 0.3 of a second to Vera. Olivier also closed down a couple of tenths on Vera himself. So that entire group, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, they are all closing up on each other here in the final few moments of this race. It takes about 1 minute and 20 odd seconds to do a lap, with 3 minutes and 40 left on the clock. We should be getting 3 laps of racing left in this race.
Yeah, estimated about the same my side as well. 3 minutes and 26 to go. So it's now all to play for in the final few moments, as now we watch as Nico Pantola and Menchachi also fight over the P17 position. Menchachi looking to return the serve as well, but Pantola having absolutely none of it. Charges back at the inside this time. Menchachi trying to carry the speed around the outside in his yellow 488. But the white 488 holding on for now. And Lasse Albrecht also looking to take a piece of the pie. Now, with the inside line, it may yet funnel its way towards the German driver, who now looks to go late again, coming through the outside, but does not have the favourable inside, which Menchachi does. A little bit of wrestling over the curb, and they both stay out of the gravel. Menchachi doing enough to hold on to 17th, Pantola up into 16th.
Well, they've gained an extra one here because Andreas Talianos has unfortunately had a bit of a spin coming out through T5 up towards 6. I think there's some damage on the right-hand side of that car, so I'm assuming has gone backwards into the barrier in all of that. So certainly not ideal, unfortunately, there. As we head back up to the race leader, 2 minutes and 40 seconds. I'm not 100% sure as to when he crossed the line. I'm pretty sure it would have been around the 2 minute and 30-odd second mark, which is close to being able to do a third extra from this point. But I believe we are on the penultimate lap of this opening race here in the opening stage of our Assetto Corsa part of this competition.
Yeah, and I tell you what, we're going to see an action-packed race too, I have no doubt as well. But Sven Gilhode hasn't really had too much to do, just in control and enjoying the clear air, Jonathan.
Yeah, exactly. I bet he's saying to himself currently, do not bin it. Do not bin it. He's got the win in the pocket. He just needs to make it around the track 1.5 times, and he's got the win. So keep the car on track. Keep it there, and he's got it.
Yeah, that's all he needs to do. Bring home the mighty 25 points. And once again, put himself in a position to qualify for this season's Ferrari HP Esports Series Grand Final on the 3rd of December, of course, heading into Ferrari World, Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. That's what's on the mind of every single competitor taking part in this series, and indeed he will cross the line to begin the final lap as we are now into the final 1 minute and 15 seconds. There's Matheus Filoda, who was dropped down the order not too long ago, since found Taliano and also Lasse Ulbrecht moving past him, as well as Nico Puntola and Menchachi. But we now watch Alex Laho, who qualified well within the top 10. His race was unravelled relatively early on, and he's had to really grind the delta back. Now looking to make a play, this time on the man currently sat in P11. Of course, now as they charge down through towards turn 2, late on the brakes again, taking a really wide line, which is certainly not going to help his run coming down through turn 3 and turn 4. But all he needs to do is just bring it home anyway, much like this man, Sven Gilhode. It's just been a confident drive, really, Lewis, at this stage.
Yeah, been absolutely brilliant. I will say, because if we only get one driver from Assetto Corsa per competition, per region, this will actually eliminate anyone from 11th down. They will not be able to continue in this competition. Obviously, they'll still race, but that will be them done. And Gilhode is looking absolutely fantastic at the front end of this field, and it looks like it's going to be one hand on that plane ticket.
Yeah, no question. It's a perfect way to start here for Sven Gilhode, who returns after competing last season, but this time in a quest to qualify for the Ferrari HP Esports Series Grand Final. He takes victory here at Laguna Seca in our first race. Here in the EMEA on Assetto Corsa at Laguna Seca. Magnificent display from the Dutchman. He finishes ahead of Petrowski, who finishes down in second place, and Manuel Vera, who does enough to stop Jacques Olivier from pouncing on him in the dying moments. Martin McGurley in 5th, and the rest, of course, will funnel in as well. We're currently watching Francesco Menchachi coming through, as well as Lasse Ulbrecht, Nico Puntola coming into the pits. But an action-packed race, Lewis.
Yeah, certainly so. Puntola there nearly trying to do the old Roman Grosjean impression of binning it on the way into pit lane. Didn't quite, though. We didn't catch it from that angle, so that's fine. Copia here. Few disappointed drivers on this. Of course, Vliestra will be the highest on that. Retirement from the race. But, of course, some big drama in that opening race. A lot of talking points. What about Zykan, of course, starting from the front row of the grid, dropping down the order? Bit of a shame.
Yeah, it really was a shame. A few of the big players actually getting dropped fairly early on. Obviously, Vasily Zykan being one of them. And then also at the same time, we can talk a little bit about the Frenchman of Alex Laho, who, of course, a champion single-seater league racer on R-Factor in 2024. But, of course, was also a competitor at this level last year and impressed largely in qualifying. Just goes to show one mistake, Jonathan. And with the brutal nature of this format, you really can't afford any slip-ups.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be replaying race 1 over and over again once you finish, going, why did I do that? Why did I make that decision? But it happened so quickly. It's 15 minutes. It's a sprint race. There's going to be chaos. There's going to be times when you can only rely on your instincts in order to get you round the track and across the finish line. So, yeah, it's an extreme challenge for these drivers. But, yeah, we've got race 2. It's all still to play for. Race 1 winner, Sven. He's got one hand on that plane ticket, as you said, so let's see if he can convert it into the second race here.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, Lewis, he can just get himself surely a top 3 or something at this late stage.
Well, look, if because Piotrowski was the one who started in second spot, right? Or he started in fourth, he worked his way up into second. He was starting in second in this race. He had by far the best start of the front 2 rows. Now, he can win this race. If Gilhoud was able to hang on to second position, because they would both score the same amount of points, because they'd both finished first and second. The thing is, on countback, because Gilhoud had the victory in the first race, he would take that ticket on countback. So he at least has that in hand. But he can't finish third, because if he finishes third, the high likelihood that Piotrowski would be the one winning the race in that case, and it would be Piotrowski who would be the one going through. And if that race starts anything to go by, I think we might have a very exciting opening braking zone into turn 2 here at the Andretti hairpin.
And if you're, well, of course, if you are Simon Piotrowski and also Sven Gilhoud, are you going to be on red alert, really, for the run down in towards turn 2? Are you going to be thinking, well, what is coming up behind me here at the same time, Jonathan? Because there's going to be a lot of concerns, I think, about that, especially when other drivers are trying to, muster in every chance they have of qualifying.
Yeah, exactly. I think from race 1's performance, you know, some drivers, they want to maintain consistency. They say, okay, same approach, we'll go race 2, we'll see what happens. Others will look at race 1 and go, what could I have done differently? What could I have done in that turn 1 that could have given me a better position for turn 2, or maybe even turn 6, being on the inside line? We saw it was very essential for cars to be on the inside line. That's the outside line drivers. They're just going to be punted off track. They're just going to be the people who are just going to be sent out wide. They're going to have to consolidate less positions. So, yeah, it's very tough. But I feel the drivers who are going to be victorious here are drivers that can keep a stern mind, drivers that can maintain that consistency both in driving technique but also in mentality, and especially the ones who are more consistent in their performances. So yeah, race 2 is going to be very difficult on the mind.
Yeah, obviously one of the prerequisites to being a top flight driver is being consistent, and ultimately, I suppose ensuring that you are going to feature up at the very top. I mean, that is the very basics of being a top flight driver. Jonathan, you know a little bit about that, but also Lewis, Ferrari as a brand, they are known to be successful.
Very much so. Like I say, that you need that brutal consistency. If you are, like I say, if you're going to be a top flight competitor, if you're going to be the number 1 driver coming in from this platform going into the grand final, you don't get into that position without being consistent. You don't win championships, you don't win competitions like this without having that consistency. That's where that winner's mentality comes from. And that's not necessarily from piecing together qualifying. There are a few drivers on the grid who didn't qualify particularly great and still were able to work their way through. You've pointed out, of course, Jack Olivier, who obviously last year had such an impressive run. This year started this race from 6th position, got up to 4th place on that race start, was challenging for podium, couldn't quite get it. And then also Martin Merguli started 11th, worked his way up to 5th. There are a few to look at here.
There are quite a few, as now we return for race 2 action with all 6 lights lit now ahead of another race at Laguna Seca. And they go out, and it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. Sven Gilhoud getting a good start, but Piotrowski is going to meet him every which way on the run down in towards turn 1 now this time. Who is going to win in this exchange? Will Piotrowski get a chance to get one over Gilhoud as they come through the first apex, or certainly the first main corner apex coming out of turn 2, and it will be Gilhoud who will hold on to the race lead for now. Piotrowski all over his rear, trying to chase an improved result, and no question, the elbows are going to be out as we're now back racing again here at Laguna Seca.
I think Piotrowski was there having a lot of lights flashing there on the back of Gilhoud. We go back to Machachi, who's having a bit of a moment and trying to defend from those behind. Eliano, Maldonado, Vlies just worked his way up to 17th position after starting from the rear, and it is all kicking off here as Vasily Zaykin is trying to work his way back up. Of course, qualified in the front row earlier on in the night, is now just trying to have a bit of fun here.
Yeah, I think the former hypercar driver just having a little bit of fun and games on the rise up through towards the corkscrew. Menchachi also getting past Zori as well. Filoda moving past Zaykin as a result of that uncomfortable moment. We're back with Gilhoud, who has already advanced a near 7/10 of a second gap ahead of Piotrowski, and Jack Olivier now pressurising Piotrowski. The pole is going to have his wits about him, because Olivier, the Frenchman, oh so quick. And as we said before, a former qualifier for the event as Martin McGurley, and now Manuel Vera go at it over fourth.
Yeah, certainly so. Look at this gap that's already appeared for our race lead. Unbelievable. 3/4 of a second already back to Piotrowski. Jack Olivier obviously getting past Vera, now trying to attack Piotrowski here. Must win for Jacques Olivier, and even that won't be enough. Obviously, he's got to take victory and hope that Gilhode drops the way down the field also.
Yeah, needs Gilhode here to have a really poor race for things to go his way. But now Jacques Olivier becomes immediately the thorn in his side. Menczacchi, Francesco Menczacchi all over the back of Tomola, trying to move into 12th, but also at the same time Azzori looking for a return up into 12th. Lost out on that P12, if you remember, or that P13 because of Menczacchi earlier on. As now the lights are on here, a little flash from Menczacchi on Tomola. Obviously thinks that he should have a nice clear view at the place above. Probably more concerned about Azzori in behind. Remember, it's all about progression in order to maximize your results, and that's what these drivers are thinking. They need to try and funnel in as many points as they can. Of course, for many of them, the road ends here. It will not be qualifying here for the grand final as Faloda comes into the pits. Another disastrous day at the office for him as Gilhode now crosses the line to begin yet another lap.
Yeah, certainly so. Still a lot of time left to go. Fast lap did come in then from Gilhode, of course, sets that 121.9. No one else getting close, relatively speaking. Only one other 121.9 coming in from Jacques Olivier, who currently sits in that third position, 1.5 seconds clear of Vera, who's under pressure from Merguli. Couple of drivers running wide there at the Andretti hairpin.
Yeah, just getting a little bit wide of the apex as we now turn our attention back to Manuel Vera, who has lost out to Jacques Olivier, who is now in P3 chasing down Piotrowski. That was a move made right at the very start of this race. Olivier flexing those muscles that we have seen in the past. And Manuel Vera trying to keep Martin McGurley at bay too, who is now encroaching within that 1 second gap and getting closer as well, 8/10 away, which now becomes very near 7.5 as they now stretch up through towards the corkscrew yet again. Olivier getting closer once more to the back of Piotrowski. And this corner could make all the difference as well on the run down out of turn 8 and through towards turn 9 at Rainy Curve before they then descend on the final two corners here at Laguna Seca. But Gilhode showing all his quality once again here, Jonathan.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly what he needs to do. He needs to pull away, he needs to be P1, and he needs to stay there for the rest of this 11 minutes. But it can all blow up at any given point. Either P2 makes a mistake, P3 suddenly gets on the back of P2, you know, everything can clump up and the race can flip on its head.
Definitely can. Olivier was slower than Piotrowski on that occasion. Olivier just looking to finish off his run here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series in the best possible way, despite this time at the moment not qualifying for the grand finals. He's looking to at least bow out gracefully, as now Menczacchi is back under pressure again, and that's Zori also coming into this as well. It looks like that we've had yet another moment further down at the order as now Jacques Olivier moves through past Piotrowski. So there must have been a window of opportunity because now the Frenchman has pounced on the pole and has moved into second place.
1.8 seconds to clear though, and needs some more drama on top of that, not just in his own hands here for Olivier. He needed a bit of luck here. But of course, fourth position in the previous race, second of this would be going out head held high for sure. Piotrowski dropping down into that third position would look for back-to-back podiums, but even that won't be enough. Gilhode has the whole shot at the moment, has the stranglehold on that single position that will qualify into our grand final as we ride on board with Pantola. He's trying to get past Copia as well. A switch with Zakin working his way up the order past Azzori as they work their way out of the corkscrew and into the final sector.
Yeah, still with Gilhode at the moment with the fastest lap, and he has just taken a 121.807. We'll have very strong memories of Jacques Olivier from last season. Of course, those two shared the grid last campaign, and it was Olivier who went through, as we mentioned before. Well, Gilhode this time looking to take it home for himself. Piotrowski still on the back of Olivier, though. Jacques day is not done yet in terms of the man in Piotrowski to muster himself back inside the top two, but it's going to be hard. And Olivier is not going to bow out gracefully. He's going to take the fight right through to the bitter end, as now Piotrowski, or shall I say Copia, now looks to move through and past what looks to be Aquident, who had a really poor outing last time. We're back with Nico Pantola on the back of Taliano, who is just in front of him right now. Talianos, who competed in the DTM Esports Championship this year, now looking to keep Nico Puntola at bay. The question is, can he do that? Puntola, of course, known not to leave any stones unturned, really a physical talent, and isn't afraid of getting the elbows out and going wheel to wheel either. Alex Laho back inside the top 10 like he was at the end of qualifying, just not quite as high, but at least is better than where he featured in race 1.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to, like I said, we said this when we were racing on the iRacing go on, and this is the same. This will be the same across the entirety of this competition. Yes, there is one driver or two drivers that go through, depending on what stage of this competition we're at and what platform we're on, what region we're in. But realistically, only a couple of drivers or a single driver will be able to go through. That means there's going to be a lot of drivers that will be very disappointed that they won't be the one to progress. But not every single driver will be on this grid thinking, I am going to be the one that progresses. You've got a lot of drivers out there that will be like, look, I'm coming out here to represent Ferrari, to be in this competition, to put on a good show and actually set a couple of decent results. Maybe I'm not going to be that guy, but I can do myself proud by getting a couple of points paying positions.
Yeah, well, Sven Gilho really stepping up now. Just look at the gap. It's now nearly blown out to over 2 seconds now. He's lumped more time on Jacques Olivier, who has still got Petrowski for company. And Petrowski just having a look down the inside, just firing that warning shot against Olivier this time as they come down through the corkscrew. We just saw Gilho whipping through out of the corkscrew. Alex Laho moving into 9th as well. So has managed to move his way up the order. Great effort on his part in order to muster in as many points as he can as he gets past Slovinac at the same time. As we've got the rear view camera on Olivier's car on the right hand side, picture in picture as well, folks. The driver behind him, Petrowski, who lost out that P2 at the hands of Olivier earlier on in this race. But Olivier unable to capitalise here, Jonathan. Is there anything he can do to improve his situation?
Not much really. Again, this Laguna Seca overtaking's tough, so in order to make positions, you just got to wait. You just got to be there. You just got to be in the guy in front's rearview mirror and say, hey, here I am. Don't make a mistake or I'm going to get past you.
Yeah, I think obviously just sending in those threats almost just to unsettle the nerves of Sven Gilho, but no one seems to have been able to do that so far. At the end of the day, Petrowski's best chance, Lewis, was obviously turn 2 at the very start of this race.
Yeah, didn't quite get the race start as what he had compared to Zajc in the opening race of the evening, and Petrovski, unfortunately, it's slipped through his fingers the opportunity to go on to take that victory. But like you said, the best opportunity was there, waiting for him at the Andretti airport on the opening lap. Just couldn't quite capitalise on it as we head back to Oscar Terminal, trying to get past Slovinac as we saw the battle in the previous race. My goodness me. God, did you teach him that braking point? That was wild. Straight over the inside of the corkscrew.
Does look like one of mine, I've got to say, from Oscar Terminal there, and down into P11. And Slovinac taking, well, needing no invitation to pounce on that P10. He grabs it with both hands. Manuel Vera now on the back of Petrowski. And just look at this for Petrowski now, very nearly beyond a second away from Jacques Olivier. So Olivier can now focus largely on what's going on in front. But the unfortunate fact about this is he's 2 seconds back and we're coming into the final 5 minutes here, Lewis.
Yeah, there is not long left to go, but it does seem as though it's not just going to be one hand on the ticket. It might be two hands on the plane ticket there for our race leader, who will be taking the maximum 50 points if things unfold as they are currently unfolding. And the thing is, the only thing that can really catch him out is that complacency, is that pressure of where you're at in the race, of the heart rate steadily rising, understanding what's at stake here. One costly mistake around here will be not ideal for Gilho, especially if there's any lap traffic, as we watch Vasily Zajc trying to get past Vielgo as they work up towards turn 6. It's going to be a brave move.
Yeah, they certainly will be. They're going side by side once more, but somehow Zajc managing to keep all 4 wheels of the car on the track, but not enough to keep Vielgo down, who moves into 12th place. Great move from Vielgo, committed and keeping Zajc at bay, but I doubt this battle's over just yet.
Yeah, certainly so. Zajc, who's shown himself to have great speed, was on provisional pole position for a majority of the qualifying session earlier on in the evening, so knows he's got speed around here. As Leho moves his way up into 8th position, we head back up into that Leho battle. Aubert's right onto the rear end, looks to the outside as they work their way through the opening kick, and then down into the Andretti hairpin once again.
Yeah, Alex Laho just with the better braking, the better car positioning as well. Textbook maneuver there from the Frenchman, who is a champion single-seater racer as of last season, and has really made quite the name of him, well, for himself in recent times, obviously competing in this championship last year as well. Just did not quite work out on that occasion, didn't work out on this occasion either, but if he keeps persisting, like we've obviously seen, I have no doubt that with his astonishing pace that has seen him qualify inside the top 10 and also return to the top 10. Incidentally, he did actually qualify P7, so I mean, at the moment 3 seconds away from the man in 7th, Ullman. I can't see that happening this time around, especially now that we're in the final 3 minutes, 2 minutes 53 to be precise, and Gilhoud is still in front, but this time Olivier breaking just within that 2 second gap, so he is finding a little bit, albeit half a tenth, but that delta is coming inwards, and Gilhoud just needs to keep it together, can't afford to make any mistakes at this very crucial late stage.
I think maybe just taking the foot off the pedal at the moment is our race leader. Not ridiculously, but just a little bit. Driving safe lines, driving consistent lines, driving repeatable lines around here. There's no need to be full risk. 2 minutes and 40 seconds was the time basically at the line. We should have just the 2 laps left to go, so we're on the penultimate lap here for our race leader, who is going to repeat the feat of the previous race and potentially here reach the checkered flag before anyone else. Take back-to-back victories and the ticket to the grand final.
Quite a way to bow out of our regional finals here on Assetto Corsa, where, oh my goodness me, Andrea Bonini just losing it on his own and just having somewhat of a swapper. And Carol Vielgo also having a late moment at the same time. So some immense drama coming in from drivers further down the roster. And now Vielgo under pressure from Occident, who is currently down in 17th place and looking to try and close and gain at least one spot. We've got 1 minute and 35 left in the session, and surely this being the penultimate lap, the next lap will be the final one to come. As now Manuel Vera looks to remain within half a second here of Petrowski. Petrowski in real danger here of losing not just P3, or at least not even just P2. He could be on the cusp of perhaps even dropping a podium altogether here, Lewis.
Yeah, Manuel Vera is starting to potentially knock at the door. We saw the pace fluctuate from our driver that sits second, third and fourth in the previous race. It was growing and shrinking one way and then the other. Of course, the previous race, it was Piotrowski, then Vera, then Olivier, who's the one who's worked his way through the field in this race up in the second position. Piotrowski and Vera the same way around as they were in the previous race. I think they were separated by about 1.25 seconds across the line, so a fair margin between them. This time it's less than that, but Vera not really being given the opportunity here. It would take a mistake from Piotrowski.
It would take an immense mistake, but Sven Gilhoud in the clear now by 2.2. He's laid down another 2 tenths on Jacques-Olivier in second. Gilhoud now taking the bends upwards, heading through out of turn 6 and later down through towards the corkscrew, where he'll look to venture in towards the final sector for the final time as the timer ticks ever slowly down towards 0. 12 seconds until we hit the noughts, and we will see the checkered flag come out for this man who already sent us stirring after a brilliant win in our opening race of this evening. Looking to follow suit with the likes of Norbert Tamash and Garvalero from Europe, also that qualified through iRacing. Well, coming out of Assetto Corsa, it will be Sven Gilhoud. He's going to the grand finals at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. He'll be making it through from the Europe phase here on Assetto Corsa on the 3rd of December. A tremendous drive, and credit also going to Jacques-Olivier. A fabulous performance to take second place and at least finish on a high. Petrowski, who looked to have his opportunity going down in towards turn 2 at the very start of this race, could not find the answer against Sven Gilhoud. The Dutchman will be heading through with 2 wins under his belt. An astonishing performance, Lewis.
Yeah, certainly so. And I think as soon as he came out of the Andretti hairpin on the opening lap there of race 2, probably had that deep exhale thinking, right, that's the position. I think I've done this. And then just had to get through the next 14 and a bit minutes and was able to do so brilliantly, and a very worthy double race win this evening. A very worthy person, going through into that grand final. So we now have 7 of the 14. We're effectively halfway there when it comes to the entries into that final.
You absolutely are. It's over in quick as a flash, everybody. Just goes to show how quickly you need to lay claim to these opportunities. But it was a magnificent performance, wasn't it, Jonathan? In your professional opinion, what do you make of Sven Gildhout? Is he definitely grand final material?
Oh, 100%. He has the winner mentality. He knows how to keep a position in P1. He knows how to keep it on track. He knows how to not make a mistake. Those are all the makings of someone who can take the trophy.
Yeah, I mean, he was, I would say, categorical in his performance, and obviously, you know, at the same time, you need to be clinical as a driver, and that's exactly what he was. 2 wins in 2 races, and of course the pole position also to match. I mean, it's been a perfect night for him, Jonathan.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he knew exactly what to do in race 2. He maintained his lead in race 1, and race 2 you knew exactly what to do because it was exactly the same position. He was in pole position, defend the inside, keep off P2, and once he saw in his rearview mirror that the car started to close up behind him, he was like, right, 14.5 minutes to go, let's make this happen, and he made it happen.
Yeah, well, fabulous stuff indeed. Also, a big shout out as well to our series partners, Thrustmaster and Next Level Racing as well at the same time, but especially HP. Sven Gildhout is our winner and comes away with qualification to the Ferrari HP Esports Series Grand Finals on the 3rd of December at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. 50 points, taking him there with 2 wins in 2 races and a pole position as well. Simon Petrowski finishing in second, 33 points, 17 points behind Gildhout, with Jacques Olivier 3 points back behind Petrowski on 30, ahead of Manuel Vera, who gave a good performance as well. Martin McGurley, one of the progressors really, making his way through the night. 20 points ahead of Nicolas Lefrancois on 14, joint with Dominic Ullmann, and then Nicolas Aubert in 8th place with 6 points against his name. Alex Laho in 9th place. I think if he had a cleaner run, what could we have seen from him? 4 points, 1 ahead of Jurica Slovinac. And then we have Oscar Tomola in 11th place with just 1 solitary point ahead of Andreas Talianos and Luca Andretta, Richard Mike, as well as Stan Vlietstra and Lasse Albrecht, who all finish on 0 points at the end of play. But a fabulous night of racing. We've got to talk about the highlights before we come to the bitter end here. What are yours, Lewis?
Well, obviously, you've got to say our race leader being able to take that pole position and running away from everyone. That was obviously fantastic to see, and certainly a highlight to keep an eye on there. But other ones, you know, the likes of Martin McGurley was able to prove that this circuit is a raceable circuit. Went from 11th to back-to-back 5th place finishes. That's always very impressive. And of course, Piotrowski's race start in race number 1 to go from 4th up to 2nd and potentially contend for that ticket into the grand final will be the ones that I'd be looking for. And of course, for those racing from the Asia Pacific region and the Americas tomorrow, I'm sure they'll be looking at some of those moves, some of those moments, and thinking, right, let's start nailing that quali practice, shall we?
Yeah, I would imagine they're probably thinking of that. And you raise a particularly good point as well, Lewis. Obviously, with the Asian Pacific drivers and the Americas coming up next, Jonathan, how likely are they to be tuning into that European race or the 2 European races and just sort of getting a feel as such before we go racing again tomorrow?
You definitely got that right mentality if you're watching that race and trying to learn from it. Yeah, exactly. People are going to be watching this race. They're going to be saying, should I do that? Should I do something else? But yeah, going to be watching the race, going to be seeing the chaos as well. Going to be quite fearful for their own car. But yeah, you got to learn from these races. It's a good opportunity for the Americas and Asia region in order to learn how to get the car around track, especially with some cars. They're able to extend the track as much as possible, and they're going to be learning from that. They're going to be learning where to hit the apex, where to put the car on the entry. You know, these very small details they're going to be learning from here.
Yeah, no question. And obviously, to those that just narrowly missed out as well, Lewis, obviously the likes of Jacques Olivier, Petrowski at the same time, Manuel Vera, of course, they can just take away some good performances off the back of the last 2 races, especially for Olivier in race 2. Surely they'll be back next year, right?
Yeah, exactly. Look, there's been some great drives, some great performances from those up and down the field, and I think, you know, like I say, one of the 24 drivers we're going to go through, that is a low percentage of the field, and that means there's going to be 23 people walking away without that ticket. That's just how it goes. That's racing. That's this kind of competition. When you look at effectively across the entire competition, hundreds of drivers that have tried and failed to get through into that grand final. They'll walk away disappointed, but you've got to find some positivity in everything that's happened. By the way, if you are wondering, George is definitely trying to get this ended on the hour. He tried that all 3 times a couple of weeks ago. I'm watch the time.
I'm on a roll, Lewis, I have to tell you. I'm on a roll. Just quickly from you as well, Jonathan. Obviously, they're going to be moving to the LAN final next. Sven Gilhode on his own to the LAN, not online. How's that going to fare?
Oh, it's a new challenge. It's a new challenge. You're moving from the comfort of your home into a rig you don't know, into a crowd you've never seen before, in a massive stadium that it can be quite fearful sometimes. So people are going to be outside their comfort zone. So, it's all to play for at the LAN event. It's going to be a sort of, it's going to be an equalizing ground, so to speak.
Yeah, well, folks, you can tune in again with us tomorrow. We've got 2 more regions to bring you, Asian Pacific, as well as the Americas, back on Assetto Corsa here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. Big thank you to Lewis McGlade and, of course, Jonathan Riley as well. Do be sure to join us as we go racing again. But from all of us here, it's goodbye.